Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Political Talk for JB. I am your host, Julian Boykin, and tonight I am joined by Mr. Chris Hughes, who is running for state representative representing the 45th district of the great state of Tennessee. Chris, how you doing tonight?
Hey, doing great. Thank you so much for the invitation. Glad to join you.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. Let everybody know a little bit about your background and what led you to start your campaign for the state representative position.
Sure. I'm a over 40-year citizen here in the 45th district. Graduated from the local high school, which would be Hendersonville High School here, just north of Nashville. Went to the University of Tennessee. Attended there from 93 to 97. Was served in the Rocky Top Battalion, which was the ROTC there at the University of Tennessee. Commissioned in 97, was sent to the Army Transportation Corps, did a little stint of the basic course in Fort Eustis, then was stationed in Fort Knox up through 2001. Had a chance to come back. Father worked at DuPont, had a chance to come back work in the family building business, and decided to do that, and then been doing that for the last 25 years now. I have served as a county commissioner for 2 terms. The last 12 years, I've served as the state executive committee man for the Republican Party here in the state of Tennessee. And I'm putting my name forward to represent the 45th district, to also serve in that. Go to Nashville. I got some different ideas and plans. Do the former person who's going to give up that seat, Johnny Garrett's done a fine job, but he's moving on and running for Congress. So I'm putting my hat in the ring to serve in that spot.
Well said. As it relates to term limits, we hear term limits being discussed on a federal level, but we don't hear too much about it at our state and local level. What is your plan as it relates to implementing term limits?
Sure. Here in the state of Tennessee, the only one is the governor who has a 2 term limit. I think a lot of states have that same thing going on, or same dynamic. My plan here in the state of Tennessee is our state senators serve for about 4 years at a time, and our general assembly, which is the representatives, serve every 2 years. The plan would be for 3 terms for senators, that'd be 12 years, and 6 term for the representatives. So for each spot, you could serve a total of 12 years before you'd have to give up that spot. Now, I know it's not a very popular idea amongst a lot of the individuals, but I think what our state needs is we have grown tremendously here in the state of Tennessee. We used to be a Democrat held state up through about 2010. And then the Republicans have been the majority, and actually we have a super majority. So there's a lot more candidates. We're a growing state. We have a lot of people now coming into the system that could serve, and get more people involved, coming up through the ranks to serve as representatives or to serve as senators. So we've got a good bench, a good field, and I think the more representation you can get in different individuals who can bring different ideas, different ways of looking at different perspectives to issues in the state of Tennessee would be a good thing.
When we talk about party registration, and I've seen some states allow this, but I don't think they track it, where a voter, you say a person is registered to vote, they can register as a Democrat as well as register as a Republican. How do we get a handle on that? Because it can sometimes skew the numbers and have either party thinking that, hey, we have an influx in registered voters, but when it comes time to go to the polls, the numbers are heavily offset. It's like, wait a minute, what happened to all these registered Democrats that we had or registered Republicans that we had? How do we fix that?
Well, here in Tennessee, of course, we have an open primary, and what the things I'd like to do is it's not closing because you're not closing, you're just party registration. So you're tightening it up, especially here that you get your Republican voters, Republic voting in a Republican primary, novel concept. So the independents don't come across, and Democrats don't cross over. Here in the state of Tennessee, we have a supermajority, and there's certain spots, minus Davidson County, which is Nashville, Shelby County, which is Memphis. Those are Democratic strongholds. So those will have competitive races in the Democratic primaries. Everywhere else is pretty much governed by Republicans. So what happens is the Democrats will come across and compete or vote in our primaries that can spoil the ballot. Independents can also, they can cross over and do that. So what we'd like to do is tighten that up and get Republicans voting for Republicans. And then, of course, as operations and data mine, I call it data mining. That really helps you pinpoint on who's actively hardcore Republicans that different candidates can go after, getting your message out. But a lot of times that gets spoiled when you've got crossover votes coming in, and it really hits at times like the presidential primary, because we're part of Super Tuesday here in the state of Tennessee. That's our big day, usually around the 1st of March. So we get a ton of crossover voting. And if it's a particular race, such as a congressional race, because Nashville is split up into 3 congressional districts now, only Shelby County is basically held by the Democratic Party. So you could get a lot of crossover voting here in our Republican primaries that could spoil the ballots and do that and mess up for a candidate running.
When we talk about education, I know we have a teacher shortage all across the country. What is a way that we can retain some of our educators?
I think one of the things I've looked at is what the state of Oklahoma is trying to implement. And what they're doing is if you graduate in the state, like a University of Tennessee, UT Chattanooga, Martin, Middle Tennessee State, or another public university here in the state of Tennessee, if you'll come and stay, get your teacher certificate, stay in Tennessee and work at one of the high schools here in the state of Tennessee, if you put in 5 years, it's kind of like a bonus. We give you a $5,000 bonus as a retention to stay here and help go against your student loans. So if you have student loans, that could help go up against and pay off student loans, which a vast majority of students are having to do now, whether it be federally or through a bank or whatever, so that they're having to contend with. So that's one of the things I'd really like to look at is providing that not only to help teachers and keep teachers here within the state of Tennessee, but also to help offset the growing cost of what student loans are running these days. And it would also help districts that may not pay as much, but if the teachers can get some help on their student loans, that may help some teacher go to the rural areas, or even typically the urban areas pay a little bit more, but the surrounding areas and other ones that could help keep teachers those in those areas and compete on when it comes to pay scale.
When we talk about property taxes and having people make understand you can have a mortgage and still lose your home if you're not paying your property taxes, but I'm starting to hear a buzz and see a lot of people talking about what if we got rid of property taxes? What kind of plan do you think would be as a way to get rid of property taxes and in the hopes of attracting more people to become homeowners?
Sure, that's a big one. As you know, that usually when you're paying taxes, property taxes, it's usually included in your mortgage. Now you can either choose to have it taken out of your mortgage, or you can still pay your property taxes separate from your mortgage. Just you have that option. But say you don't have a mortgage and you've paid off your house. Well, here in the state of Tennessee, if you don't pay your property taxes, you still can lose the home. So you technically never really own your home. So I know Governor DeSantis in Florida, they've really been tackling this issue, and it's something that here in Tennessee is, I think everybody would love not to pay property taxes, and you would actually truly own your home. And also, it affects people when you're paying property taxes. We got a lot of tear down and rebuilds here, especially here in my district, in the 45th. We're getting a lot of individuals coming from California, Illinois, various parts of the states. Well, we have a lake here. And so a lot of people like to have the lake, and you've got what was built when TVA came through and they dammed up the lake up here. Lake property is very valuable, and a lot of people who come from these states that California or say Illinois, they want to be near on the water. We have a lot of tear down rebuilds, but there's a lot of houses that were built in the 60s, so that don't have any work. They haven't been remodeled. They're getting skyrocketed because next door is having a tear down rebuild. Prices are going through the roof. It's gotten so bad that a few years ago on the county commission, we had to cap property taxes for individuals 65 and older because a lot of the prices were just getting so out of whack that it was they on fixed income, a lot of people just couldn't pay them or having a hard time. So we had to step in and kind of solve that, and that was 15 years ago. It's really gotten worse now because a lot of these houses that are being built are 2.5, 3 million, and versus a house that was built in 1962, 63 for probably about $40,000. that is just out of whack. So what we'd like to do is, yes, you're going to have to spread out how you would generate revenue through either sales tax, which is very prevalent here in the state of Tennessee. You've got to look at that, and you've got other things that how would you exactly spread it out to get it to where people don't have to pay the property tax. It's a very complicated thing. It's not impossible, but I think if we really got down and got with the experts like a Dr. Laffer, who's, I've had the pleasure of meeting, talking with him, working with on this plan, I think we could come up with a solution that would be, very eye-opening and people would really like and enjoy to actually, if you have your house paid for, that you truly do own your own house or your business and the property.
When we talk about, the 45th district growing, a lot of more people coming in, looking to establish, grow families, things of that nature. Now we talk about infrastructure. How do we beef up the infrastructure in the 45th district?
I think along with the 45th district, and I'm sure it's with every district across the United States, the power grid. If you talk to anybody, the power grid is really going to have to be upgraded. Now, here in the state of Tennessee, TVA is the one that controls our power. And yes, it does pretty much federally funded come from that. However, I do think the state needs to look at maybe partnering with the federal government, TVA, and work on upgrading, whether it be substations or other ways and means of actually upgrading the power grid here in Middle Tennessee. As I'm sure probably your state and other states that are competing and vying for AI production plants, they're the ones that are really going to use the power grid. We've got Met up here here in the just outside the district, but in the county. But there's also other places that are talking about AI facilities and or major manufacturing facilities that are just going to really eat the power grid. Plus, the homes today, and with people's cell phones, computers, and other things, it's really probably a strain on the current power grid that probably we don't put a lot of money into or upgrades to. So that's one of the major things. When it comes to roads up in here, yes, we can make them wider, but when you're doing that, you still got the off ramps. You go in the city of Nashville, that's great. You can make 6, 7 wide lane roads, but you're still going to be coming down a 1 lane ramp to a stoplight. And so, you've got to be careful in selecting that. The other thing is on the northern part of the county, water lines. A lot of people were on wells at one time trying to get water lines up through the northern part of the county and probably a lot of the rural areas. People used to be on wells, that are 50, 60 years old. After time they could have problems. Natural gas is a great cheap energy. So around the cities and in parts around Nashville, natural gas is pretty prevalent, but it would take some time to get some stuff farther out in the rural areas to get natural gas because realistically, natural gas is going to be your cheapest route form of electricity to help for electricity here in the nation.
If people want to get in contact with you, make a donation to your campaign, how can they get in contact with you?
Sure. It's ChrisHughesTN.com. That's my website, and love to have anybody. You can go on there and read a little bit about the different issues that I cover. If you want to make a donation, would love to have a donation. But to really get to know me and know who I am, we'll constantly be updated the website, putting information on there, different stops and different issues as the campaign goes on. But it's ChrisHughesTennessee.com.
Last question. Why should the people of Tennessee representing the 45th district select you as the next state rep?
I'm a native Tennessean. I've lived in Tennessee my whole life. Went to the University of Tennessee. Uh, I think I've got a servant's heart, and I know people say that all the time, but I've served in the county commission, served the party. I want to see Tennessee thrive. I want to see Tennessee grow as responsible as it can, but also be a leader. We've got a great state here. We've got a great story. We're centrally located, 3 interstates running. Nashville's a fantastic city. I just think we've got so much to offer here. And, it's a place where my kids have grown. I grew up, my kids went to the same school. And it's a community I'm very proud of, and I want to see it thrive. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, putting my name in, and not only serving the constituents of the 45th, but the state of Tennessee.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Hughes, candidate for state rep, 45th district, representing the great state of Tennessee. Chris, best of luck in your campaign, and thank you for your time.
Hey, Jillian, thank you.